Hi guys, and welcome back to the Lame Average Techies. Today we're going to show you how to configure basic ISIS on Juniper routers.
So for this lab, I'll be using two virtualized VMX routers with 1 and 2 links connected between them. So we will set up ISIS and ISIS adjacencies between these routers over these two links, and then we will also configure IP addresses on the loopback interfaces so that we can do a source destination ping between these two, and then do a little bit of a failover on one of these links just to show you how the protocol reacts. So I've already done some configuration on router 2, and then I'll show you that configuration now. And once we have gone through that configuration, then we'll jump back to router 1 and we'll start doing the configuration on that end and do a bit of some testing between them. All right, so let's go to router 2. So I'm just going to do a show configuration pipe display set. Okay, so as you can see, these are the minimum configuration that I've done for this lab. All right, so we have interface 0 obviously configured with an IP address, and then we have family ISO enabled on that interface. So these interfaces will obviously be the interfaces where the neighbor adjacencies will be formed. All right, so we'll have it on interface 0 and interface 1. Then also a loopback IP address, and then a unique ISIS area ID or address on the loopback interface. And then under the protocol ISIS, we have specified the interfaces that's going to be in ISIS. Let's go back to router 1. So I'm just going to do a show configuration pipe display set. So as you can see, only the root password has been configured at the moment. If we do a show ISIS adjacency, as you can see, there's nothing running on it. All right, so first of all, let's start with configuring the interfaces. All right, so we'll configure interface 0 first. All right, so let's just see if our point-to-points are working. So we're just going to do a run ping 10.10.10.2. All right, cool. And then 20.2. Do a run show ARP, but obviously it will work. Okay, so everything on a layer 2, layer 3 is working. All right, so we're happy with that. So now we need to go and now configure ISIS. So first of all, remember we need to configure a loopback with a unique ISO address. So let's do that. So we're going to give it an IP address first. And then the family ISO address. So in this case, we're going to use this area ID, then 0192.0168.0001.00. All right, so that's my unique address. Right, so one thing that we have missed as well, we need to enable the ISO on the interfaces. So we need to enable ISIS on the interfaces that's going to form adjacencies. So in this case, it's going to be interface 0 and 1. So I'm just going to set it on interface 0 first. Okay, we do a commit. Then we go to the protocol and we configure the interfaces under the protocol. So we need to set interface GE 0 and 1. So I'm also going to specify the loopback interface, but it's going to be specified as passive. So the reason why I specify it as passive, because remember the loopback interface is a software interface, so it's not going to form any adjacencies. However, we want it to be routable in ISIS, so therefore I put it in ISIS, but as a passive interface. Go top, do a commit. Let's see on which interfaces ISIS is enabled. So we can do a run show ISIS interface. All right, so what I can see now is that ISIS, the interface that's in ISIS is the loopback and then interface 0. So remember, even though I've specified interface 1 under the ISIS stanza, it shows in this, if you run this command, it shows that that interface isn't enabled for ISIS. So let's enable it for ISIS. Okay, so we commit. And then we run that same command again. All right, so now we can see that interface 1 is now also in ISIS. So the next step now is to see what is the state of our ISIS adjacency. So we do a run show ISIS adjacency. All right, so as you can see, interface 0 and interface 1 is up. And if you want to see a bit more detail, you can use this command. So this command tells you, what's your neighbor, the level, the state, obviously the whole time values, and the time it's been up or down. Okay, so this is a nice little command to use if you want to see a bit more detail. So now we know, all right, so ISIS is up towards router 2. So let's see what route we are learning from router 2. So we can do a run show root protocol ISIS. All right, so as you can see now, 192.168.0.2 is the loopback of router 2. And I should be able to ping in as well. So what does this tell me? So here it shows me that it's preferring interface 1 towards router 2. Okay. So just to confirm, there's another command you can use. Run show root forwarding table family inet. And if you look at this, so there we can see, all right, that's next hop and out that interface. So let's go to router 2 just to confirm whether ISIS is up on that end as well. Yes. And if we do a show root protocol ISIS, there's the loopback of router 1, also out interface 1. So we know when we initiate a ping from router 1 towards router 2's loopback, then the returning traffic will follow the same interface as well. So let's do a ping. We will source from our loopback. Okay, let's do a Wireshark capture and just confirm that that is the case. All right, so I'm just going to stop it here. So as you can see, from 0.1 to 0.2 ICMP request and reply. All right, so now we know traffic is bidirectional on interface 1 only. So while we have this ping running, I'm going to disable interface 1 on router 2 to initiate a failover. Disable. Then we do a commit. All right, so let's see what happens. And we wait. Okay, so there you go. Let's do a run show ISIS adjacency. So as you can see, the ISIS adjacency is down on interface 1. And if we do a run show root protocol ISIS, now shows me towards that IP address out interface 0. So what we have to keep in mind is the reason why the ping took so long, or the failover took so long to happen, is, remember, this is a virtualized environment, so it's not an actual physical interface. So when I go and set it to disable, it doesn't physically go down. So it has to wait for the protocol to time out, and then it will initiate a failover. Okay. So obviously in a real life scenario where this is a physical link, if the link goes down, the failover will be much quicker. And obviously you can also play with the default parameters in ISIS if you want this to happen quicker. I'm just explaining why in this lab it took so long. It's just because of that timer that had to time out, expire, and then go into the down state. So we run the ping command again. And I go back to router 2. Okay, so we do a rollback 1, do a show pipe compare. All right, so as you can see, I will be removing the disabled statement. So let's commit that. And then we do a show ISIS adjacency. And as you can see now, interface 1 is back up. So we do show root protocol ISIS. Now you can see, okay, so everything is back to normal again. And the pings are still working. Let's look at the configuration one last time. Okay, so there you go. So remember that when you configure ISIS, you should have a unique ISO address set on your loopback, and then obviously a unique loopback IP address as well. Then you need to enable ISIS or ISO on the interfaces towards where your neighbor is connected to. And then obviously under the protocol, you need to specify these interfaces.
Right, and that's it for our guide on how to configure ISIS on Juniper. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.